Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. Now, of course, most of my regular viewers here know that I'm a Navy vet, and from time to time I peruse the Navy Times to see what exactly is going on, in the Navy, some of the latest news, maybe some of the latest technology that's out there, And basically, the morale, what is the Navy doing these days? I know I would never do it again, only because I know now what I stood for when I did serve. Certainly wasn't defending freedom and democracy. That had nothing to do with it. But this story caught my attention because of all of the things that you see going on with the 7th Fleet out of Japan. I mean, you've had two ships collide, I think, in the past year to 18 months. You've had a ship run aground. And now, I was just reading the USS Bread and Water. Old and rare punishment loomed over a demoralized crew. I'll bet you most of you out there didn't know that in the Navy, commanding officers through the Uniform Code of Military Justice, non-judicial punishment, can give sailors 3 days bread and water. You go to the brig, you get 3 days bread and water. The only thing that you're allowed to have in your cell or room during that time is a Bible or your religious text. Outside of that, can't have anything. It's 3 days. It's something that's been frowned upon now for a very long time, at least the last, 15, 20 years or so, I would have to say. When I was in, I think I remember twice a sailor being given bread and water, just because at that point in time, everything else was tried, and this was kind of a last resort. But come to find out, the USS Shiloh was known as the USS Bread and Water over in Japan because of how often one of its commanding officers used that punishment, which to me is absolutely archaic. And to mention, when you think about, human beings these days, I would hope that we're past that, that we're past the corporal punishment, that we're past bread and water. Even though you see that we're not a la police state, everything else, I would hope most of you out there understand, giving somebody 3 days bread and water is very counterproductive, extremely counterproductive. I'm all for, taking responsibility and having accountability. This is tough. Listen to this. Sailors aboard the cruiser Shiloh during the 26-month command of Captain Adam M. Aycock, often worried about the CO's use of one of the Navy's most arcane punishments, confinement for 3 days in the brig while being fed only bread and water. Over time, Aycock's proclivity for using bread and water to punish junior sailors became well known on the Yokosuka, Japan waterfront where the Shiloh is based, according to sailors' comments in 3 of the ship's command climate surveys. Interesting. Listen to this. One sailor wrote, "I don't wear my ball cap at the Navy Exchange store. Even the taxi drivers know the USS Shiloh as the USS Bread and Water." Another sailor said, "We are known for beating our people down for bread and water, not the work we do." See, very counterproductive, extremely negative effects to morale. And this, this goes across the board. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Navy. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. There's a right way and a wrong way to treat people. And I've always said, you know what? Treat people the way you want to be treated. And the other thing is, we all screw up. We all make mistakes. We all have to atone and account for the things that we do. But I think, again, this absolutely archaic punishment or mode of punishment needs to be done away with. This is across the board. All branches of military have to do away with this god-awful punishment. They're not prisoners, although I think prisoners have more rights than somebody in the military. It says fears about bread and water punishment were among several recurring complaint themes in the 3 surveys during ICOC's command, obtained from a Freedom of Information Act. Now, ICOC declined to comment via a spokesperson at the Navy War College in Norfolk, Virginia. On July 6, 2015, less than 2 weeks after reporting to the Shiloh, ICOC handed down what records indicate was his first bread and water sentence. I mean, this guy is fresh into this command, and boom, right off the bat. Said the first sailor had been late for curfew and absent without leave, according to records obtained via the Freedom of Information request. At least 6 other Shiloh sailors would receive bread and water under ICOC for offenses that included curfew violations and underage drinking. One sailor got bread and water in part for lying about his mother living in a dangerous area. Yeah. Several sailors wrote in surveys that the infractions were the type of things that could have been and should have been corrected by enlisted leadership. Always handle your problems at the lowest level possible. You know, that is probably one of the golden rules out there. Never let it go past where it needs to go. Keep things on the DL, you know? But to be and to use this type of punishment with that kind of frequency is totally and completely unnerving. It really is. And I would have thought that by now, the U.S. Navy and the U.S. military would have changed this. But unfortunately, they haven't. So for all you military people out there that are serving, keep fighting to get that changed. You do have power. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody.